A week ago, we woke up to the news that people in Mexico were sick and dying from swine flu. Since then, of course, it's spread around the globe, with dozens of suspected cases here in Australia. Now, the race is on for a vaccine to save us from this deadly outbreak. But that's weeks, maybe months away. In the meantime, we're left with the uncertainty, the fear, something my family knows all about. A few days ago, we learned my sister Jane was one of the Australians in quarantine. Later, we'll look at her case and the national emergency plan to combat the virus. But first, let's join Peter Harvey in the Mexican village where it all began.
A family friend said what most people here believe. The government covered up the virus, suspected of infecting nearly 3,000 Mexicans and killing up to 150, including some of the townsfolk here. I mean, that's absolutely shocking. A potential global pandemic starts here in your village and no one tells you anything about it.
No, they never told the people.
It's a terrible situation.
Eso sí.
Yes, that's right.
Even as we talked, heavily armed police arrived and the mood suddenly changed. Now, we'd just been invited inside the Hernandez home to speak with the family when all of a sudden there were helicopters overhead, police and officials absolutely everywhere, and the family was whisked away. Clearly, someone didn't want them to talk. With the whole world pointing the finger at this remote rural state, it's little wonder that local authorities are sensitive. But just which pig farm this virus originated from is still unknown. Certainly, this dirt-poor region offered the perfect environment for the deadly H1N1 virus to develop. Some suspect it came from one of the region's giant American-owned piggeries, like this one. Not that they're keen to talk about it. Is this where swine flu started? One scenario as to how all of this got started goes something like this. A pig, such as this chap here, has a pre-existing virus. He somehow catches yet another virus from a bird. Now, the pig's genetic makeup is such that it's ideal for creating new viruses, for mixing them up. And that's exactly what happens. Bingo, a brand new virus. And from here, it goes around the world. Nearby Mexico City, packed with its 25 million residents, was the perfect breeding ground. And that's where the death toll began to skyrocket. Everyone's terrified, and they're lining up for all the help they can get. No one really knows where the threat is coming from. The government shut the city down, Everywhere people meet, even restaurants, and takeaway is the only thing on the menu. At supermarkets, compulsory bacterial hand wash. Gracias. This Australian lives here, but after this week, he's not sure for how long. What a fantastic building. This is where you come to work each day.
Yes.
Jesse Inglis from Sydney normally dances here with the Mexican ballet, but any event that draws a crowd is now forbidden. How's all this affecting you?
It's totally killed all life here. They suspended all of our activities in the ballet, and so I've just been sort of closed in my house for the whole time, so I haven't been out to enjoy anything.
There's a sense of barely contained panic here, one of the largest cities in the world in crisis. And from this epicentre, that panic is quickly spreading across the globe.
Already the pandemic has infiltrated our lives in Australia's suburbia. And little wonder. Since the alarm was raised, hundreds of people have flown into our country from affected areas. Now, at midnight on Monday, Australia went on pandemic alert. Anyone coming in with flu symptoms was immediately quarantined. And for me, that struck very close to home. My own sister Jane is isolated in her own home, possibly carrying the deadly bug. Jane, you there? Hello? Open up. Don't come out.
It's a bit funny talking to you like this.
It's crazy.
I'd expect you to come in and have a cup of coffee.
Like dozens of other suspected flu victims, Jane flew in from the United States after a business trip. The flight had connections from Mexico.
I felt a little bit, on the plane, not 100%, but by the time I got back here, sort of on Monday, I thought, oh, it's a bit jet lag. And then Monday night, the sore throat just really kicked in, and that's when it sort of hit. And then Tuesday, I thought, oh, I'll see how I feel. And it just sort of, as the day got on, my throat got worse. So work said, you better go home and go to the doctor, and that's what I did.
The doctor immediately took tests, notified the health authorities, and ordered Jane to get home. What did they say to you?
Well, the guy said that I was in the high-risk category, and basically I was quarantined. He said we need to do the tests, and until we find out what the tests say, he said you're in quarantine, can't come in contact with anyone. So no partners, no mums, no dads, brothers, sisters, whatever it may be, that's it, you're at home.
Go home and get quarantined.
Go home and get quarantined.
As Jane waits anxiously for her results, Australia's emergency response to the outbreak is in full swing.
It's obviously a very high security, highly regulated manufacturing environment, and the part that we're in is one of the few parts that we can actually get access to at the moment.
This is a rare tour inside the Melbourne laboratories that are working around the clock to develop a vaccine. For Dr. Andrew Cuthbertson and his scientists, the race is on.
It's really, in this circumstance, more a race against the virus. We're really trying to produce a safe and effective vaccine in high volumes as rapidly as possible.
Why is it a race against the virus?
Because we know it takes a finite amount of time to develop the vaccine, make it, test it, distribute it. That's where the race part comes in, because we want to do that really, really quickly, but we want to get it right and we want it to be safe and effective.
I think it could be a matter of days before we see the alert stepped up to phase 6, and probably just a matter of time, weeks at the most, before we see a confirmed case. If nothing is done, 40% of the population will get sick, but with all our best measures thrown at it, we could reduce that to perhaps 10%.
Is that true? That's a worry.
It's a serious worry.
A rush to an emergency ward like this. And in most major hospitals around Australia, there's also one of these. It's an isolation unit, a handful of rooms that are kept on standby around the clock, ready for a pandemic. The patient's taken in here, preferably with as little contact with other people as possible. The room is sealed. They call it negative pressure. No air can get out, and that means the bugs can't get out either. And the patient just has to wait until they're given the all clear. And that first-class, high-tech medical treatment is reassuring when you take a look back at just how devastating these outbreaks can be. In 1918, it was the Spanish flu. Spread by troops returning from World War I, it killed 50 million people worldwide, including 12,000 Australians. Then it vanished. What's concerning is that swine flu, like Spanish, is hitting our young and healthy. And the threat could yet get worse as we head into our flu season.
This is better.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Hey, this is good.
Good to see you.
You're looking much better.
Yes, no more quarantine.
Thankfully for my sister Jane at least, some good news. 3 days after I first visited, she's still not 100%, but it's not swine flu.
And they were quite confident from the results and everything that, you know, I didn't have it, but they did warn if I was to come down with a fever in the next 7 days that I was to, you know, automatically let them know, and obviously they would, you know, take it further from there. So.
Not swine flu at all. Good news.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Back here in Mexico, and in this enormous capital city, there are monuments everywhere to liberty and the freedom of the individual. Ironically now, because of a virus, this is a city under siege, and much of that individual freedom has been lost.
I'm worried for the kids. That's it. I'm worried for the kids, just for the kids.
How old is this little one?
1 year and 9 months.
And you brought her here today to be checked, or?
Yes, because she was a flu before. I went to the doctor, and this morning she has a high fever.
In a city in lockdown, it's the nightmare that faces every family here and around the world. Many questions, and so far, very few answers.
We don't know what is going on.
Back in La Gloria, where little Edgar started all of this, there are no answers either. Just freshly dug graves. And how many more of these will there be before we know why people are dying?
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.